Welcome to another word of the week, and this week we bring you the letter F. We bring you the word faggot, which of course I'm British, so I'm looking at that from the perspective of two things. It could be a bunch of wood, possibly twigs, possibly sort of bound up together, or I could be meaning some kind of meat product. More on that later. Before I go too far, I'm going to get the elephant in the room out of the way. I'm not talking about faggot in the derogatory American sense alluded to in this video, which is from Teen Wolf.
I gotta talk to you about something because it's making me nuts.
Yeah, well, I hear you, but if it's that intense, I'll need a solid buzz to think clearly.
Well, look, I wouldn't even mention it to you except that I gotta talk to someone.
Wait a minute, are you gonna tell me you're a fag? I mean, if you're gonna tell me you're a fag, I don't think I can handle it.
No, I'm not a fag. I'm a werewolf.
Both of these are completely different to where I'm coming from. I am coming from the British sense. Now, how does that come to us here? Well, it comes, unsurprisingly, if you're looking at bundle of sticks in some kind of way, it comes from a root meaning, bundle of sticks. So, it comes from, we think it comes from the Latin fascis, meaning bundle of wood, which became but there's also a vulgar Latin word, faccus, also meaning bundle of wood. Now, there is a bit of confusion as to whether faccus comes from fascis or not, because it could possibly come from fakelos, which is probably pre-Greek or Greek in some fashion. Anyway, regardless, we get to faccus, which is definitely Latin vulgar and definitely means bundle of wood. And then we move on to fagotto, which is Italian, meaning bundle of sticks. And then the Old French faggot, meaning, bundle of sticks. And then by the late 13th century, we get to bundle of twigs bound up in the Middle English. And realistically, faggot still means that. You can still have a faggot of wood, as shown by this picture. You start getting some, certainly some obsolete terms have appeared using this, but I guess from an insulting point of view, trying to not get into that awkward position, but anyway, we find faggot is used from the late 16th century in English to be a contemptuous term for a woman. It's a bit unclear as to why that would be the case, but one of the suggestions I've seen is because old women would go out and gather the sticks for burning, so that becomes a term that you start to insult old women who've gone out to collect sticks for, becomes a contemptuous term for old women. Either way, obsolete now, or we don't use it in that way. Similarly, we don't use it for the term of a man hired into military service simply to fill out the ranks at muster, or indeed a vote manufactured for party purposes. None of these are used any way, shape or form. It is unclear, incidentally, how you do get to the insulting word for a male homosexual used in America since the early 20th century. It's not clear. There's an awful lot of bizarre theories as to what that could possibly be, but none of them seem to have any real grounding. A lot of them are just sort of urban legends springing up in the etymological societies. So one is that men were burned at the stake, and they were burned using faggots of wood as the fuel for burning. So is that how this comes? But there's no real suggestion that that's actually quite how it worked. One of the interesting problems is that in England, where homosexuality was a capital offence, it was hanging that was the prescribed method. So that wouldn't quite make sense. Also, there's some other suggestions that it could come from fag in British public school slang, where a fag was sort of a young boy who would be required to do duties for a senior boy, often unpleasant and potentially of a dubious nature.
I say, Blackhead, are you sure this is the PM? Seems like a bit of an oily tick to me. When I was at school, we used to line up 4 or 5 of his sort, make them bend over and use them as a toast rack.
But again, that's not linked to faggot in any way that we can see. So nobody knows where it came from. Yeah, I have nothing for you on that one, I'm afraid. However, what I do have is the other form of faggot. We've moved beyond bundle of sticks now, and so we find the other one is a British dish made up from bizarre bits of meat, mostly pig, so it's offal. It's liver, lungs, heart, spleen, that kind of thing, mixed up, rolled in potentially breadcrumbs or wrapped in bacon and then braised in stock. And it is the same word, and we guess that it's come from the same notion of little bits and pieces of things bound up together. But it's a little bit of a stretch to go from a bundle of sticks to being sort of a meaty dish in gravy. But hell, we're British and that's the way we roll. I don't have a huge amount more for you on the word faggot, other than the fact that I really like to eat them. So definitely encourage you to give them a shot. Mr. Brain's faggots, which I absolutely love the branding of that, given that it's an offal product. Yeah, I don't think they are really faggots in the way that we would think of them, and you can probably get far better ones from butchers and that kind of thing, where you'll get something that's a little bit more representative of the traditional art. But anyway, that is the word faggot for you today. Hopefully you can see it has a couple of very honourable meanings, and that we should definitely and absolutely not be using it in the derogatory, principally, as I say, American sense of the word. Completely inappropriate and not the way we like to roll. See you again.